Imagine this. What if we turned bright blue when we were anxious? Would this be a hindrance, a breach of privacy, or would it be the key to surviving a school year? Kids' anxiety couldn't be denied or dismissed for something else. Let's go back a little, well, maybe more like a lot. In the fall of 2001, I started my first full-time counseling job here at the International School of Prague, working with elementary children. What amazing opportunity for a young psychologist. I was so ready, so excited for the chance. 2 weeks later after I started, 9/11 happened. The American Embassy closed the school for a couple of days for fear of us being a potential target. A terrible tragedy and a big task for a young counselor. What was I going to be able to tell people to make them feel better? Simple truth? Nothing. How could I talk to 6-year-olds that what they saw on TV was real and not something out of a movie? I listened. When I think about what I did do for those children, was I listened. I could not tell them that there was nothing to be afraid of, because that I wasn't sure of. The only thing I could do was listen. I listened to hundreds of stories and emotions and fears. And if what I posed earlier at the beginning were true, the whole world would have looked like a giant Smurf colony for all of the anxiety that that event evoked. Did the world change after that? I think yes. I think we became more fearful, more protective of our children. The face of travel changed, and things we couldn't even have dreamed up in a movie became real. I hadn't had a course on how to react to a terrorist attack, where nowadays that probably is commonplace. I don't know if we'll ever know the true impact of that event on the world and children who've lived after that. They don't know. They are used to strict rules at airports because they know nothing else. They are used to seeing it on TV because it is commonplace. I bring this up not as the focal point of my talk today, but more as a starting point from my own journey and all of the students I've worked with ever since. When I think about them, the students I work with now and have worked with over the years, an overwhelming feeling stands out, something that could prevent them from learning, playing, laughing, having friendships. Maybe you have already guessed it, anxiety. Anxiety as of late has gained so much media attention. Headline after headline about the perils of our youth. They're doomed. What are we going to do? Despite all of this media attention, I hate to say it, I still feel that kids are so misunderstood. So as an advocate for young people, I feel it's my duty to them to bring this up one more time. One of the most common phrases I hear from adults who are trying to comfort a child is, "Don't worry, there's nothing to worry about. It'll be fine." Nothing to worry about? I feel like all of the air is sucked out of my lungs. My stomach is in massive pain. Everybody is staring at me. Everybody wants to talk to me. My mom is leaving me in this building, left all alone. I feel like I want to hurt myself. I have no words. These are just a few of the feelings that could be going on for a child with anxiety. I know all of us have fears and anxieties sometimes, like me standing up here right now. But luckily for most of us, it's not a constant state. Imagine you felt that every day, and you were just 7 or 12 or 16 years old. Isn't childhood supposed to be carefree? What do they have to worry about? They don't have adult pressures like us, like paying the bills and going to work and taking care of the kids. How can they be anxious, right? I worked with a girl that I will never forget, a second grader, about 10 years ago. She was so paralyzed by her anxiety that she couldn't even do such a simple task given to her by her teacher, whether to use blue or red paper. It's so easy. There's not a right or wrong answer. Just do it. You can imagine that maybe her teacher was a little bit irritated with her. Definitely her peers didn't understand. Even her parents didn't really get it. Her older sister was never like this. Later on that year, she was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. She so eloquently was able to describe how that anxiety felt for her at the end of that year to me. She said it felt like a bad man was chasing her all the time and almost about to catch her. Imagine. I think about her sometimes, how frightening that must have been for her, and other children who maybe also feel like that sometimes. She is one of probably over 100 students I've worked with over the years who suffer from anxiety. The current CDC statistic is 4.4 million young people from the ages of 3 to 17 years old in the US have a generalized anxiety disorder or a disorder of anxiety. These are only the people that are diagnosed. These are just the American children. What about the millions of other children around the world who are suffering from anxiety? When I think back now, and I think about these past 20 years, have we come further than I thought we might? Can we talk about nowadays more openly about mental illnesses like anxiety than before? Could I go up to my new colleague and say, "Hi, my name's Colleen, nice to meet you. Oh, there's something you should probably know about me. I suffer from anxiety, and I take Zoloft daily." What would they think? That I'm brave and courageous for telling them, just regular? Or would they think I'm weak, or maybe a bit crazy? Why still now are physical illnesses perceived differently? Right? I see it all the time at school. A kid comes with a broken leg and everybody's there to help, right? Pushing the wheelchair, signing the cast, getting their lunch. But if a kid has anxiety, either they're not told they have it, or it's not explained in a way that they can understand, or they're not given on ways on how to help. Do we actually have to see it to believe it still now? I often feel as adults, we are sometimes waiting for kids to get away with something, like not doing their homework, or not doing their chores, or not going to a family event they don't really want to go to. So our default has become that they're not being truthful. So when they do say, "I actually don't want to go to my friend's birthday party," or "I don't want to sleep over at summer camp," or even "I don't want to go to school," we think their anxiety is not real enough. Could we be as supportive to those children with a broken leg, to those children who suffer from anxiety? Don't they too need therapy, maybe medication, acknowledgement of their pain, ways to cope? Anxiety comes in all shapes and sizes, just like people. It doesn't discriminate. It's not ageist, racist, or sexist. I guess that's what true inclusion looks like. I've seen it come in so many varieties, but each just as negatively impactful as the next. Sometimes when we listen or we don't take a child's feelings into consideration as much as we should, it can lead their anxiety to worsen. School refusal is a real thing and something that can occur when someone has an anxiety disorder. The thought of coming to school can be the most terrifying thought and occurrence in a day for a kid. When I think back now, I've had my fair share of morning jogs unexpectedly, chasing after children who were so overcome by their anxiety that they wanted to flee the school grounds. A true example of a fight or flight response. Okay, look at me. I don't look exactly like an extremely fast runner. So what were my options? Improve my running skills? Or get all the adults in this kid's life to realize and recognize that this anxiety was real and we needed a plan on how to help. As you can see, I chose the latter. But most of the time, it isn't so obvious like this, the kid running right out of school. Most of the time, we maybe don't see it. Especially in teenage years, teens try to hide their anxiety because no matter what we may hope, many people still view it as an area we should be ashamed of, or the stigma with it, that they can't tell about their anxiety, so they mask it so we don't know. Imagine the anxiety that could occur where you feel you don't belong in your own body, right? You don't look how you should. What if you love someone that other people think is wrong, right? Or you're not allowed to be yourself? Or what if you have it all to the outside world? You're pretty and smart and good grades and hundreds of Instagram followers? How could that person have anxiety? Sometimes, though, so much energy is spent trying to hide that anxiety that when it takes hold, it can mean complete withdrawal from regular life. Now, I'd like you to think about someone you know who suffers from anxiety, maybe even yourself. How do they look? How do they behave? How do you know they have anxiety? On a regular day, I'm not in this theater with all of you, as you know, but I am in here with hundreds of children crammed in here. Think about them. In closing, I want us to think to my beginning point. What would happen if we really did turn blue when we were anxious? Would it be helpful? I know it's a preposterous thought, and it's not going to happen. But what if we all did get a little better at seeing that invisible hue of blue a little bit more clearly and acknowledge the impact that anxiety is having on our children? Thank you.